N, 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 A.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. If you please give us 2 more minutes, we are waiting for the mayor of the city to join us. Thank you.
The 2 minutes is to turn off your mobiles. You have enough time. Yep. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, now it's for real, okay? We're kicking off this afternoon together with a warm welcome from a couple of high-level representatives of this beautiful building and this beautiful institution in this amazing city where we're all able to convene over digital cultural heritage, and more specifically, how a network like Europeana Network Association can bring value to everyone who can call themselves a stakeholder or an enthusiast of digital cultural heritage. We have, I believe, a very rich and quite exciting program for the next couple of hours. I will present it to you together with two of my colleagues on the association's management board. I will introduce them to you in a little while, but I would like to open with giving the floor to Mr. Yannis Armeftis, who is the mayor of Limassol. Yannis, may I invite you to the stand, and you can cut the ribbon, so to speak, of this afternoon session. Thank you.
Honorable representatives of the UNESCO Chair of Digital Cultural Heritage, distinguished academics and researchers of Cyprus University of Technology, esteemed representatives of cultural institutions and organizations, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure to be with you today at this important event. First of all, I would like to congratulate the UNESCO Chair on Digital Cultural Heritage and the Mnemosyne Research Center for the remarkable work they have been carrying out over the years, strengthening Cyprus' international presence in the fields of cultural documentation, innovation, and the digital preservation of our historical identity. Today's event highlights the importance of the European Digital Library Europeana and the Europeana Network Association as valuable platforms for collaboration, knowledge exchange, and the promotion of Europe's rich cultural heritage. In an era where technology is rapidly transforming the way we preserve and share knowledge and historical memory, digital culture heritage is no longer a luxury. It is a necessity. Cyprus, and especially Limassol, carries a deep and multi-layered cultural history. Ours is a place where civilizations met, coexist, and left their mark throughout the centuries. We therefore have a responsibility to safeguard this heritage and pass it on the future generation through modern tools and open access for all. As Municipality of Limassol, we strongly believe in the connection between culture, technology, education, and citizen participation. The use of digital tools can strengthen the international outreach of our city, bring citizens closer to their history, and create new opportunities for research, cultural creativity, and international cooperation. Particularly important is the promotion of initiatives that connect historical memory with today's European identity and reality. The restoration of the historic vessel Lambusa and transformation into a floating museum is an excellent example of how cultural heritage can gain new life and international visibility through collaboration and the use of European networks. Ladies and gentlemen, our cultural heritage does not belong only to the past. It is a tool of knowledge, identity, and creativity for the future. And the digital era gives the opportunity to preserve it, share it, and make it accessible to the entire world. Warm congratulations to the organizers for this valuable initiative, and I wish every success to today's discussions and proceedings. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to congratulate you myself on the Lambusa project. I believe that you were a real champion of that project. And thinking back of the first campaign of Twinit, which we will be discussing later, I think it was one of the flag bearer projects. So many, many congratulations. And I hope to visit it in person at this occasion, staying here in Limassol. I will invite now, as a representative of the UNESCO chair, Mnemosine, I will ask Marinos Ioannidis to say a few words to kick us off.
Yes. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Sophie, Ines, Chris, Europeana team. I see good, nice, faces around here from all different parts of Europe. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor and a great pleasure to have in Cyprus Europeana and Europeana Network again. The university, as well as a small community of colleagues. We started 12 years ago, this journey. We did a lot. There is even more to be done so far as Cyprus and Limassol memory concerned. Mr. Mayor mentioned a very key word where we said and we invest for the future. This is identity. And this is why we digitize. And Europeana is the lighthouse, and I would say the modern Alexandria library. And we, all of us, have to be very proud that as Europeans, as taxpayers, we are contributing to that very important project. For that, we are very thankful that you are here, that you are promoting, that you bring Cyprus closer to Europeana, but also Europeana is coming closer to Cyprus. You have here in front of you the community, and number one, the mayor of Limassol, with a key memory, have in mind, Limassol was born from Kurion and Amathunda. Here was the place where they did the trade, in the old time period. So from that time, our identity at your window over the world in Europe. Thank you very much for coming. We are looking forward, and thanks for all of you again, And yes, floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Marino. I think we can all say, I think many of you have been around for a little while in this world of Europeana. I think we can all say that if one person is a light tower here, it's Marinos Ioannidis. I want to ask you for an extra round of applause, please. My third guest opening this session is Varvara Aristidou, representing the University of Technology. Welcome, Varvara.
Hello, dear friends, guests, colleagues, and participants, welcome. On behalf of the Cyprus Association of Librarians and Information Scientists, I am honored to welcome you to this important event. We warmly greet this initiative and the remarkable work carried out within the Europeana network. Its mission is to connect people with Europe's rich culture and intellectual heritage, which is not only inspiring, but also essential in today's rapidly evolving information landscape. For the field of information science and for libraries as institutions, this work holds profound significance. Libraries are no longer simply repositories of knowledge. They are active participants in the creation, preservation, and dissemination of digital cultural content. Initiatives like Europeana empower libraries to extend their reach beyond physical walls, making knowledge accessible, inclusive, and interconnected across borders. Equally important in this role of the librarians as themselves. Librarians are key facilitators in this ecosystem, bridging the gap between information and users, between heritage and innovation. Their expertise in curation, metadata, digital preservation, and user engagement makes them essential partners in advancing projects like Europeana. In Cyprus, as well as across Europe, collaboration between librarians and organizations responsible for Europeana is vital. By working together, we strengthen not only our institutions, but also the shared European vision of open access to culture and knowledge. Through such partnerships, we can ensure that our collective heritage is preserved, enriched, and made available for future generations. As the Cyprus Association of Librarians and Information Scientists, we strongly support and celebrate this work. We look forward to continued collaboration, knowledge exchange, and the development of meaningful synergies that will benefit both our professional community and society. Thank you, and I wish you all a successful and inspiring event.
Thank you very much, Varvara, for bringing the L into glam, right? I think that is a focus that we truly appreciate. Let me introduce my final speaker. Unfortunately, my screen has popped out, so I will have to introduce Mr. Charalambos, who is representative of the Development of Mountain Communities lead, right? Can you please join me here and explain a little bit more what it is that you guys do?
Thank you. Good afternoon. The Commissioner of the Development of Mountain Communities extends his apologies for not being able to attend today's event due to a demanding schedule. I will now deliver his address on his behalf. Dear Mayor, dear Dr. Ioannidis, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor to be with you today at this important event. Cyprus possesses a cultural heritage of exceptional richness and diversity shaped over centuries through its history, tradition, and local communities. Cultural heritage is not merely a collection of mountainous or historical records. It's memory, identity, and community. It reflects who we are and what we choose to pass on to future generations. This reality becomes particularly evident in the mountain communities of Cyprus. Across our mountainous regions, traditions, oral histories, and community life continues to preserve living cultural heritage that forms an essential part of our national identity while enriching Europe's shared cultural landscapes. Under the leadership of President Nikos Christodoulidis, we continue to advance practical measures aimed at strengthening access to cultural heritage in rural and mountain areas. Through financial support provided to the Union of Cyprus Community, the UNESCO World Heritage Church Monuments of the Rhodos region now operate with the Coordinator Visitors Framework, supported by personnel who help interpret and showcase their historical and cultural significance. This initiative demonstrates that preserving heritage is not only about safeguarding monuments, but also about ensuring accessibility and interpretation. This broad approach is also reflected in the government-wide policy for supporting cultural in mountain communities. The Rhodos Mountain Communities Cultural Foundation, established as a part of national strategy for the development of mountain communities, was created with the aim of presenting, promoting, and passing on both tangible and intangible cultural heritage to the future generations. At the same time, digital technologies introduce new opportunities and new responsibilities. They allow us to preserve heritage more effectively, extend access beyond geographical boundaries, and connect local communities with European and global audiences. This is precisely where the European Association Network becomes increasingly important. By strengthening Cyprus' participation in Europeana, our institutions can showcase the heritage of our communities on a broader European stage, foster collaboration, exchange knowledge, and contribute actively to a shared framework for digital cultural preservation. Cyprus possesses a cultural wealth that positions it not only a guardian of the past, but also as an active contributor to the future of digital heritage in Europe. I am confident that today's event will further strengthen partnerships, inspire new ideas, and create opportunities for meaningful collaborations across Europe as we work together to preserve and share our common heritage for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, Charalambos Nicolaides. Now I know it by heart. A wonderful opening. We feel very, very welcome. Thank you also to the university for the hospitality. What better place to talk about technology in a hub of technological innovation in a city with a rich history such as Limassol. I think it's the perfect intersection, actually, for an event like this. Let me now quickly sweep forward, and let me also see, indeed, where I have to point this. I will maybe at this point introduce my two co-hosts here. All of the three of us are on the management board of the Europeana Network Association. Ines as a vice chair. She also represents the AI for LAM network. And Chris de Loof, a Belgian science policy officer, but more importantly, the treasurer of ENA. Welcome, guys. Maybe you're welcome. All right. We are already, take a seat. We are already running a little bit behind on schedule, but let's try to be efficient here, and let's try, indeed, to get the interaction going. I would really like you, in a minute or two, to participate in a little survey that I want to do to test the temperature in this room. We're, of course, going to do that in an inclusive way where we are respectful of each other's opinions. But should you have the feeling that something's not exactly right, or you feel that there is something that we can call exclusionary, then please let one of the organizing team know. All right. We passed the welcome notes. As an introduction, I'm not going to deliver it, you are going to deliver it. And I'm going to ask you to take a phone, a tablet or whatever you can find, a laptop, visit menti.com or scan this code. And when you're asked to submit a number, it's the session 22289209. And I will ask the team in the back. Indeed. Okay. You've got here a blank canvas, and I want just one word from you. One word that expresses what brought you here today. The word could be Marinos, but feel free to add anything else that prompted you to join today. Okay, the word cloud is taking shape. I love the word curiosity. That's the best reason ever. Next to Marinos. Europeana, you're curious? If I put them together, you're curious about Europeana. Oh, I'm also in there. Thank you. That's too much honor, but very kind. You're curious, you're interested in coming together, in networking, in exchanging. And of course, in technology and heritage, and where they synergize, where they reinforce and create more value and more opportunities. We hope to shed a bit of light on that from the network's point of view in the next couple of sessions. You are being wonderfully productive. I'm amazed. And this is a cloud that we will have to dissect a little bit later. I will try to do that over the coffee break. But let me jump to the next question. I have 2 or 3 more. Oy, that's not right. Sorry, the team in the back will have to skip forward to the next slide. Thank you. All right. Here I would like to know, for you yourself, in your situation, with your background, with your interests, at this very moment, what is the key benefit that you could get out of being part of a network? Are you more into learning, upskilling yourself, building capacity? Is it more about communication, visibility, dissemination? Are you looking for funding? Are you looking for partnerships, for collaborations? Or are you perhaps moving within or towards a policy level where you would try to exert some strategic influence? Let us see how you cluster together here. Everybody wants to learn, not everybody, but more than a third of this crowd. I see a beautiful flower formed in the strategic section. Okay, an extended flower. And collaboration. So if we put the 2 of these together, I think we come to the idea of peer-to-peer knowledge exchange that is so key to what a network association does. Of course, we offer more formalized ways of building your capacity, learning about new things, following a module, for instance, in the Europeana Academy. But it's also very much about meeting interesting people who are doing something quite innovative, quite novel, and just see how they're going along. These are the people in the field that have their hands on. You don't need to repeat the mistakes that they made, but maybe you can repeat their successes. That's very much what this is about. Next slide, please. All right, these are 7 themes in connection with digital cultural heritage that seem to be chosen a bit haphazardly. They were not. We will explain later why exactly these 7 themes. But I'm wondering if you have to pick one, which captures your interest the best. As we are at the University of Technology, I would have imagined that research and technology are strong. Very strong. So these are 2 key pillars in this audience. I'm very happy with the climate change people. I would love to meet you also over coffee, because this is something where our network could really benefit from your expertise and your experience. Since our community, our ecosystem is hugely interested in the question how to perform all of these digital cultural heritage miracles in a sustainable and an environment conscious way. Let's move on. I believe this is the last one. What do you know about the data space? Something, nothing, or anything in between? This is an interesting distribution. So we do have quite a large contingency that is not really into data space things so far. The in-depth knowledge is on the minimal side as well. And then we have some basics. Yes, we have a good amount of people who at least they have heard from it, maybe researched it in a little bit, but are not necessarily a stakeholder in the data space yet. We're going to try to change that today. Thanks very much for your polling. This helps us a lot conducting this session. Can we switch back to the slides, guys? Thank you. Okay, let's sketch now the big picture. What is the Europeana Network Association? We always start by saying that we are a democratically organized community of experts. It's not only experts, it's mainly enthusiasts of digital cultural heritage. And what binds us all together, I will show you some slides where we break down the membership. You will see that people literally come from all over the world, and they are from very, very different sectors. But what we share is this one mission. The mission is to open up Europe's cultural heritage for the whole digital community, the whole global digital community. It all starts with access. You cannot have a stake, you cannot benefit in any single way from digital cultural heritage if you don't know where to find it and to access it. And that is where Europeana comes in. And as the network association, we are an integral part of this larger body, of this larger initiative, I would say. So Europeana was founded or funded by the European Commission almost, I think, 25 years, close to a quarter century ago. To become a sort of European library. And I will visualize the evolution to where we are today, the data space, in one of the next slides. Let me start by saying that the Europeana Foundation, that is the central office in The Hague, where about 60 staff members work every single day to keep this data machine going. Secondly, there are more than 40 accredited aggregators. They form a pipeline from GLAM institutions, from libraries, for instance, to contribute content, collections, data, and metadata to this centralized data hub, so to speak. And then there's the Network Association. So we have 3 pillars here. The Network Association is what we like to call the human face of the data space. You become individual member of the association, not necessarily with your institution. You bring, of course, all of your background and your organizational capacity with you, but the membership is on an individual level. And as you can see, we have quite the extensive constituency here of over 6,000 members currently. This is our larger mission, as I already sketched it, the democratic access to cultural heritage data, which you can easily achieve if you visit either the Europeana.eu website that you might know from the previous 15, 16, 20 years, or the brand new dataspace-culturalheritage.eu website that really is becoming the new gate to the data space for cultural heritage. What kind of data can you find there? Well, more than 61 million items at this time in probably any flavor of digital heritage that you can imagine. Sound, video, images, photography, 3D models, of course, and more types of data are coming as we speak. This is an integral value proposition of this movement to become a data space. The high-quality reusability of the content is a big thing. Europeana has put in place a lot of standards and frameworks to up and up and up the quality of what you find there, so that not only when you click it, it's not a tiny thumbnail, it becomes really a finely defined record, but also it is item per item labeled to specify what you can do with it. Is it open license? Is it something that you can use in some circumstances but not in others? You will see it with every single record. And of course, this makes it extremely user-friendly. Okay, this is the very brief visualization of where we come from with Europeana. About 25 years ago, the intention was, okay, become a portal, open a door for cultural heritage institutions to share and for stakeholders, such as yourselves, to find digital collections. In the second decade, it became more about sharing and reusing. So this whole idea that there is a platform where providers and users meet and creative things that add value actually happen, that became the focus of the second part of our lifetime. And now, let's say we have rejuvenated another time, focusing on a decentralized model where we have exchanges really happening to providers and to users. I sometimes use the word prosumer because everybody becomes a producer and a consumer all at once. And you can see that apart from communities that were very central in the very first years, we are now still catering for communities, but also for industries, and of course for machines. And we will talk later about how AI is impacting our work in the present. It's important that all of this happens really adhering to the values that are so dear to the Europeana initiative from the very first moment. The openness, the mutuality, the safety, the security, the trustworthiness of the data that we provide. You are able, with every single item, where it comes from, and you will see the authentic metadata that were attached to it by the collection holder. That is key, I think, as a differentiator to other data sources. So now I zoom back in a little bit. So you've heard about the Europeana initiative, you've heard about the data space. Now back to the association as one of its three pillars. You can see here on this image, and I'm sure that many of you who have visited a Europeana event or attended a workshop or a webinar, you know that we get creative with post-its, right? We also do it in the digital, Miro boards, that sort of thing. It's just a way to really collaborate, to have the voices from everybody who is participating, to jointly design solutions or sketch the problem space in some cases so that we can work as a cohort towards finding solutions to arrive at this democratically accessible data space. We are organized, I told you already about our members. I will give you some statistics in a minute. We need, of course, to organize these 6,000 members a little bit so that the democratic representation is a real thing. And we do that by electing a members' council. So currently we have 36 councillors. We are slightly reforming that system a little bit so that we can have a better continuity of, let's say, fresh perspectives that come in, but also expertise that has been built up a bit with experienced councillors. So these 36 people, they are really the decision-making body within our association. It is also the council that elects the management board. Currently there are 6 of us, and you can say that all as volunteers, because this is a volunteers network, we are working on a daily basis to achieve all these ambitions that we have. I think this is interesting to see. Where do the members come from? You will see we are far past European borders here. And this is one of the things that I love about it. Even people working on research projects in the Latin Americas, in Brazil, in, I don't know, in Asia, people working or looking for European digital cultural heritage or even for their local cultural heritage will tend to find something once they step into these 61 million records. And this is why many of them become curious to be part of the conversation and apply for membership. Every single month we see the motivations of the people come in. We read everything that people submit to us, and these stories, every single one, are inspirational. Where do people come from a professional angle? Well, you'll see here this very interesting contingent of other, the pink part. It can be anything. I've seen literally everything. People who are, I don't know, have a textile business and they are looking for historical patterns. People who have a startup in a drone, the drone area of work. Artists, creative freelancers. As you can see, we have a nice contingent for the creative industries as well. And of course, academia, education, and cultural heritage sector themselves are strongholders in this group of people. We have experienced an amazing growth over the past years, and I'm looking here at some colleagues that were there for probably all of the pathway that you see here, growing from under 1,000 to the over 6,000 where we are today. And every single month we welcome, I would say 60, 70 new members. So you can count that for a year. That is quite extensive. If you are not in there yet, this is an opportunity to do it. We will recall this code also later on, but give it a look. So any membership is voluntary, it's also completely free, and it only takes you to submit this one form, and it will land in our mailbox in a couple of days' time. But what can you expect? Well, this is a very, I would say, inventive way of our AI assistant to visualize the benefits of being part of the network. It might not all be correctly spelled, but it gives you an impression of the quite extensive benefits, I would say. Indeed, connecting with your peers, people who might have worked on something that interests you, or that might be interested in collaborating with you, that have certain knowledge that you might want to tap into. Attend some training opportunities and some events that are exclusively accessible to members. Among which the Europeana Academy, which is a kind of capacity building platform where you can follow courses and modules of courses. You can apply for a conference grant, so every 2 years we have a huge international Europeana conference, and indeed people who are a member can apply for a grant to support them with traveling and accommodation. You can join one of our 7 expert communities. We will come to them in a minute. These are, of course, the 7 topics that I polled you on earlier. And then, indeed, you can even join the Members' Council, join the Management Board, why not, and really have a leadership position in strategically influencing the sector. I will not repeat all of this. I think the benefits are clear to you, and if not, please let your hand shoot in the air when we come to the Q&A session. Voila. Only thing that remains for me is to call you to action. If you like to be involved, if you like to really walk in front of the pack rather than to follow, then maybe you are the leadership kind of person that we are always looking for. This year we are having elections in the fall. This normally will be October, November, something like that. And we are looking for about 18 councillors. People, that's a lot. So if you're doubting, if you are still not confident, be confident. Join, become a member first, and then keep an eye on our news channels so that you can candidate as a members' councillor later this year. And this is the cue for Ines to join me here in front and to talk about what the work is that needs to be done.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sophie, for this really extensive overview of what we are doing. I would also like to maybe first start with information or maybe observation that I see that there's a lot of already familiar faces in our auditorium today, which means that many of you already know about Europeana Network Association, and that you know what we are doing. So maybe this first part of our presentations is, I would say, a repetition of the data of what you have already heard probably some time ago already. But nevertheless, please be patient with us, because in the second part of today's presentations, we are also deep diving into more, I'll say, more up-to-date development that we're doing now in the network. So going into the human face of who we are, yes, excellent. As Sophie already mentioned, there are more than 6,000 members today. We are counting every day more. And of course, we are joining forces in different events and different educational programs, workshops, etc., etc. As you already voted on which topics are of your importance, and of course, as Sophie already mentioned, is the research and tech topics are among the most important for most of you. I would like to draw our attention to the communities that we have, and that you also see them now on the screen. But you also voted on the themes that they are developing. And I would like to emphasize a few of them, because we have here representatives. So I would like to emphasize the work of our colleagues from the communication community, because we have Maria with us here, and she'll be presenting later on. I'm working in a research community, and many others are also a part of. Sophie, in which community you are? I know that you're in something else that I'll be presenting later on. Impact, okay. And education, okay. So when you are asked that you join our ENA network, you're also asked to select the community you would be like to be engaged with. And of course, these are just some of the topics that are now very active. But I would like to draw your attention also to something that we'll be discussing later in the afternoon, and which is also, I'll say, my typical subject of work at the moment, is AI, which is kind of I'll say, the overall a common layer of all the communities that are engaged in I'll say, at least 1 year now, and about which we'll be speaking a bit later on. Besides that, I would also like to show you the statistics of the members in our communities. And as you see, the research community and education, as well as tech and communicators, are the biggest communities that we have. And they really work hard to actually work on similar subjects that they are addressing over also in their institutions, but also in their professional work. So whichever questions you might have, you can get the answers from the community steering groups, or also other members in the communities, because there's all the time a lot happening, a lot of events. Going further on, we also have working groups and task forces, which are a bit, I'll say, narrower, and they typically address smaller, more focused topics that also typically combine the work of different communities together. One of such, for example, was a Ukrainian working group where our dear colleague Sophie is also engaged. But there are also other working groups and subjects, and there's so many, I could not list them all on the screen. So please take a chance and maybe browse through them on our webpage, and also the task forces the same. So there's a lot of work implemented, and I have to say that our community members are really engaged into the developing and pushing forward the implementation of the digital transformation through the sector on the not only European but global level. One thing that I would like to also emphasize today is, and we already spoke with our dear colleague Marinos on this subject, is the country groups work that we have been doing over the past years, and that is something that we wanted also maybe to think here in Cyprus about your collaboration on the national level. So the country groups were, as I say, as a not working group, but actually as a driving force of national development of the cultural heritage sector in the community, implemented a few years ago. I think it was in 2023, if I'm not mistaken. So there were first three countries that started participation. That was Italy, Slovenia, and Bulgaria. And what we actually did is that we combined the work of different stakeholders. So not just cultural heritage sector, but also aggregators. And we have our representative here, I think, of the aggregators also, and we'll I will hear Antonella's talk later on, as well as policymakers and representatives of, say, ministries and governmental institutions, so to drive the development and the force of change on the national level. Because one thing is the huge, broad global community that we're all participating in. But of course, if you want to really make a change, you have to reach out in your local, on your local levels, in your local communities, and combine the work of the, say, national institutions, smaller institutions, museums, libraries, archives, universities, ministries, etc., on the national level, so that you can really implement what you hear in the community and what you learn in the global environment. So as I said, there were three country groups established from the beginning. And in each of those country groups, the work was quite diverse, I'll say different. In each and every one of them, we organized events, but of course the events were targeting the audiences, the public that I will say was more, more important or more, in need of development on the national level. For example, in Slovenia, we did the events for museums, because the libraries, they already participate with their data a lot in the digital space, so we needed to onboard the museums to go and start doing the change and the development in their sector. So what we did is we combined the events of the, also the INA, the Network Association, but also the national events of museums, and also international events that happened with the museums on the national level in common educational programs, and of course, conferences and other events. But in every country, that was a different subject. So if you have an idea how to develop the digital space in your country, you're of course welcomed to step forward and speak with us, and maybe work on the culture, on the country group in your particular country. And I think this is now the Cyprus, which we were speaking about. Okay, so you have here also the QR code that brings you back to the web page, where everything about the country groups is also presented. And yeah, this is my part, and I think we're really short with the time. So, Chris, please take my stand. Thank you.
Okay, let me check. Meanwhile, you saw this, huh? It's working. Okay, thank you. So you saw, I'm Chris Deloof. I'm the treasurer of the European Network Association. That's really a fantastic job, because we have little money, so I don't have to do a lot of things. But that's why they asked me to tell some numbers, about numbers. So I think I'm going back in time, so I don't know. The green one. Okay. Okay, so my talk, it will not last too long. It's before the break in principle. So Cyprus is also an active part, meanwhile you heard it, of the data space. So actively, already Sophie was telling us, we have 6,000 ENA members, and also we have a lot of ENA members also in Cyprus. I will come back to this. And of course, the ENA is not isolated. It's not working in an isolated environment, but it's also really in a broader ecosystem. So I will tell this also in my talk. So that's the opening one. I say hi. It's beautiful. Europeana data space. Sophie already showed the link. There is a portal. There is also a whole platform. You have APIs, but at least the people, when they are looking for something, you will find everything beginning from the portal, the opening portal. It's also in Greek for the people from Cyprus and for Greece. I put it especially in Greek for the people that are not speaking Greeks. That means go to the collections. I cannot pronounce. Is somebody in Greek that can pronounce this? The red thing? Nobody. There's no Greek here? Okay. So you click on the button, you come on collections. You go to Europeana. So then let's have a check. What's about Cyprus? Just put Cyprus in the search bar. And then what we see, 70,000 objects, digital objects. That's that's a lot. Honestly, that's a lot. Mostly images. So Sophia already talked about images, 3D objects, text. So it's mostly images, 70,000. So let's talk also how those images are getting into Europeana. Then we have two concepts. We have aggregators. We already heard about the aggregators. You have thematic aggregators. We have some representative of Europeana fashion. We have photo consortium present. So there are already some people already around that knows about aggregators. So they are collecting the objects then from the thematic side. But you have also national aggregators. And the national aggregator for Cyprus is the Deputy Minister of Culture. So that's the one that is dealing with all the collections that the institutions are providing. So what are the biggest providers in Cyprus? Cyprus Broadcasting Corporation. That's really a lot of objects already in Europeana database. So another one, of course, it's the UNESCO chair. It's also a very interesting provider of a lot of content in Europeana. But what's maybe a very special is that we spoke about 70,000 objects, but are they all coming from Cyprus? No, they are not only coming from Cyprus, they're coming all over the world. And so that makes it very interesting because you can link all your objects together all over Europe and even beyond. So what is the country which is providing most of the Cypriot objects? Can somebody guess? UK. UK is a good candidate, but it's about Sweden. Sweden is the biggest provider, and there is a reason for this. I don't know where's Marinos, but he can tell you why. What? Yeah. And then you ask to return the objects too. That's another problem. Okay, but at least 70,000 objects, not only Cyprus, but also all around Europe. A lot of objects are come together in the data space of cultural heritage. So, to make it easy also, there are a lot of partners also with projects that provide also, I will say, some easy step-ins. So one of them is the flavors of Cyprus. Just type this, you see all the flavors of Cyprus with all digital objects that have been provided by thematic aggregators, national aggregators all over Europe. So, what's the hype now, of course, why we are all here together, and also what's happening also yesterday, that's the 3D digitization. So that's the new hype, the new child in town, I think, or around the corner, how it's the expression, don't know. But that's one very interesting 3D. That is the one that was presented also in Brussels last week. So we visited Neophytos yesterday for the people present. Really impressive to see the real one, also to see the 3D one. That's really impressive. So, to come back on the 3D track, you see that for the moment it's only 30 objects. But 30 objects compared to a lot of other countries is really amazing. It's really a lot. And they are provided by the two aggregators that you see there, the Deputy Minister of Culture and Photo Consortium. So we will have somebody from Photo Consortium also next speaking. Also, what's provided in Cyprus? You see, 737. So that's also a lot, with good quality data. That's important to say, because people can also, organizations, aggregators, they can provide a lot of content, but it's not only good quality data. This is really good quality data. So, just to jump then about the network, we already heard about how joining the network, it's also on the site. We see here a list of all the members in Cyprus of the network. You see, it's not only about the university, but you have a lot of schools, a lot of other organizations that have members in the network. And totally, we have 105 ENA members. You saw the graphics. It's one of the top 6, I think, of the members in for countries delivering members. But we're not having enough members. So if you are Cypriot, if you are whatever, which country, just join our organization. So what is the broader impact? The community of the Europeana Network Association is not alone. You have a lot of other communities. There's a lot of overlap. Certainly in the research world, there's a lot of overlap. And you see also, we are speaking about ECOS. ECOS representatives are here around. They will also talk tomorrow in the other conference. You have Pharos, the Greek AI factory. I see there Dr. Kolias. I think he's an important guy from the AI factory, but also just remember that Cyprus is connected to Pharos with an antenna. So that means that we can deliver also content, we can treat content. AI for LAM, we already heard about AI for LAM. Ines is there. And also, I didn't present this, but I'm the chair of Daria. So I think people know about Daria. Also, Time Machine, Claren, and of course, I cannot neglect this, the EOSC. Just a little bit, but of course, we are going in that direction. So, I think this was the end of my presentation. I think Sophie will come back.
I'm just gonna wish you, Chris. Yes, thanking all of the speakers of this first part of our event. I'm now dispensing you for actually stretching your legs, get caffeinated or hydrated, and I would like to see you back here, what shall we say, 4 o'clock? A bit more generous? Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Marino. Have a nice coffee, everyone. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for more or less sticking to the schedule. We hope to land in time later this afternoon so that we can all continue these conversations that were actually already breaking out, erupting over coffee. Thanks to so many of you for reaching out to me. I've heard different interests, climate things, collection sharing. And while we are building the decor, thank you. I'm happy to introduce this post-coffee session by handing the floor to first Ines, then Chris, and then I'll return myself to share with you some of the recent, what we call success stories. It's what Ines was teasing you with earlier. These are very recent developments, things that are happening that we want to make sure that you're aware of and that might inspire you to some projects or some partnerships of your own. Ines, please set off with, I think, a story that will interest each and everyone here in the room.
Thank you very much. Yeah? Okay, you hear me? Yeah. Thank you very much, Sophie. And I think that we can start the party now. After I'll say the introduction of the numbers, the community, the basics of our work, we are going now into the AI. I think everybody is loving or hating or has an opinion on AI. It's a buzzword. We use it every day. I don't believe that there's a person in this room that didn't say AI today already. But I will present this from two perspectives. I am a vice chair of ENA, so Europeana Network Association, but I am also Secretary General of AI for LAM. So the ones that don't know my organization, it's a global organization established by today already 50 institutions around the world. And you can scan the QR code and you can check our webpage also for what we are doing. But what is more important is that we are joining forces also with Europeana, and we are working on the subjects that are, of course, of the interest of us all, and we are trying to address the issues that organizations, not just individual professionals, have in the sector. So start from the beginning. But maybe before I go to the policies, Europeana Network Association communities starting the discussion of AI as a cross-community endeavor and I'll say subject of interest already in December 2024. And that is why we launched an AI Alignment Assembly, and I'll go one slide back. AI Alignment Assembly in 2025 in spring, where we collected different aspects of AI that is interesting for our community members and also broader cultural heritage public, different stakeholders. And we gained back more than 10,000 feedbacks from different organizations, from different representatives, from different cultural heritage workers on the subjects that they would like to address in the scope of AI. And with that, we started an AI Alignment Assembly, which will result in the white paper this spring. Before that, we organized with the Europeana Network Association a few workshops and events, and we worked together with aggregators, but also all the representatives of different communities. So if you are or you would be our member of any of the communities, you would be able to participate in the development of AI Alignment Assembly and white paper already now. But if you were not there up until now, you are, of course, very much welcome to engage with us further on, because this is not an ending story. We are thinking of how to implement AI as a subject in our community work. How that will happen, it's still open question. Maybe we'll have an 8th community. Maybe we will implement it as a cross-community layer, we will see what will happen, but I'm sure something will. So, going further on to the policies, of course, in 2025 we had two major European Commission policies that are driving our work further on, but also kind of giving us the floor to what we have to think about and in which direction should we go as members of the European Union, but also members of our institutions and work in a broader community sense. What is happening? So this is something that we developed with Europeana initiative, but I also see it when I visit different institutions around the world. So big tech, as I always say, big tech is approaching organizations particularly, so specifically. They approach each organization. For example, Library of Congress was approached by OpenAI, National Library of Norway was approached by Google, University of Victoria was approached by Google, etc., etc. So, but as individual institutions, it's very difficult to have a position and to work with big tech. You can say, okay, we give you data. You can say, okay, we will not give you data, and that's almost it. We don't have a common voice. We don't have a common ground on which we could build on as a strategic positioning towards what is happening globally in the digital environment. For this part, we are trying to also, with cooperation with Europeana Initiative, to build an environment that would be trustful, reliable, and useful also for our institutions back or forward, if you want to say it like that. So what we want to have is, of course, data that is trustful, first of all, and this is something that the big tech wants. We have it already. We spoke yesterday with colleagues there at the monastery about also paradata, for example. So this is the data that is really, really, really important to train the models, to have reliable data so that the models don't, hallucinate as much as they do at the moment. And this is something that the big tech wants from us. But what do they give us back? And what is our position in the society on the, our trustfulness, how the users see us if we just go and just give our data further on without actually being an active partner in this environment. So we really are working on a possibility to develop a public AI literacy and also public AI. This is something that is emerging now in Europe, but also US, and I'm sure that if not already, you will hear about a public AI in the years to come further on. Going further, if we want to have such an environment, of course, we need to be an active partner, not just with AI. I have been hearing about cultural heritage institutions only being data providers for at least 2 decades. So we are always participating in projects, but we're always just data providers. We never get this loop back. What is the final result? We have open science, we have open data. All the research projects are, all the results of the projects are openly published. But on the other side, the cultural heritage institutions who typically provide the data, for example, for humanities research, we are never back in the loop so that our databases, our digital objects would be connected to the final results of the research. So if we want to be an active partner in this huge environment of an AI data space, we need to collaborate with AI factories, with data labs. We need to be actively involved in the infrastructural development on the European but also global level. And this is something that we are trying to push forward now also with a white paper and also with the AI Alignment Assembly that we established last year. What is more, Europeana is really active partner in AI for LAM community, and also our working groups and our environment. But I would also like to drag your attention to our dear colleague Marinos signing the Memorandum of Understanding also as a member institution joining AI for LAM. So we are joining forces with different institutions globally, and we have a new partner also here, which is Fashion Consortia, Association, Fashion History Association. Yeah, okay. So a new partner here, and maybe some of you are also collaborating with us already. But there's more than 50 organizations at the moment globally collaborating and joining forces to really push the development and be the ambassadors of change in digital environment in the future. Why? Of course, as Sophie before already mentioned, we want to democratize the access to cultural heritage data, which also means, and this is not connected only with AI, that if you want to have your users in the library, in the museum, in the archive, what you have to do? Where do you have to be? Where do you have to appear? Nobody's coming back to the physical collections anymore. You need to be present in digital. You need to be there. You need to be visible. And for that part, we need to collaborate together to push this, I'll say, visibility of cultural heritage where we actually belong. Because if we are funded by the governments, if we are established as a national representatives of cultural heritage, I'll say, keepers also, we need to do our mission. And today, our users are not the ones that come back to the library if you say, yeah, okay, you have to search in the catalog and you go there on some shelf and you find yourself information. No, that's not what they expect. They expect information in a few seconds. They expect it in an abstract. They expect it now from their home, not in the institution. They will not use the whole day to get a book. This is the reality, and of course, as long as we have students, as long as you have people at the universities, they still do that because they're, I won't say forced to do that, but they have to do that for exams. When they go into to work somewhere in jobs, they never return back. So you lose them on that pathway. So if we want to democratize the access to cultural heritage data, we need to think about how our users think to be able to develop in the direction that they need from us. Okay, so the white paper is going to be published in mid-June. I would really invite you all to look at it, to follow us, what we're doing at the Alignment Assembly, at the European Network Association, but also Europeana Initiative, and to be really careful of how you think about providing your institutional workflows to your final users. Because, for example, okay, my background is in libraries. In libraries, most of our work is connected with cataloging. That means that in national libraries in Europe, you have 30% of the budget of each national library going to the cataloging department for the HR resources. But you don't have enough people working in research. You don't have enough people working in collections. You have no innovation managers. You have nobody that works with projects with external partners, etc., etc. So the question is whether we should still support such development, or we should rather use our intellectual power for real intellectual work of our employees, and rather use technology for what the technology can do as a, I'll say, more a technical part, as a something that is a workflow that is just a supportive work for our final results. Okay, and with this, I give the floor to my colleague.
Testing? Okay, thank you. Yeah, what's about? Okay, knowledge base. What I wanted to say about knowledge base. You know that Europeana and also EINA, We have a lot of members. Already, we don't have to convince you, 6,000 people. That means that we have a lot of expertise. That expertise is tangible, intangible, but you need to give this also. You can use this. You can use this to make trainings. You can use this to make a MOOC. You can use this also to organize events. And that's the part of my talk. It will not last too long. So I already know from Sophie. She sent me already a message to keep it short. So, okay, we'll do that. So, some screenshots. So it will not bother you with a lengthy presentation that by PowerPoint, but we need to build some knowledge, skills within Europeana, with the Europeana Academy. What's the Europeana Academy? Is a training platform. It's a training platform. It's not that much trainings yet available. It's 23, but it's already a lot for what when we started. We didn't start really 7 years ago. It's really something new. What's interesting at these courses is that it's not only made by Europeana itself, it's in collaboration with the whole community. That means also if you have a small and medium enterprise, if you are an expert in your field, you can propose to make, together with the people from Europeana and also with us, the INA, also a MOOC. So it's perfectly possible. I was speaking also at the break with somebody. There are some MOOCs already available, and it's always interesting to also in a kind of business opportunity to put your MOOC also online together with Europeana. There is a lot of interest in it. So take contact also with Europeana, show me your MOOCs, look also for your expertise, what is lacking, how you want to share this. This is possible. So for the moment, 23 courses. Very easy to navigate. You are interested in rights. Okay, you tip rights, and then you see that there are 2 courses available. The interest of the MOOC is, of course, that you follow everything, you know everything by heart, and then you get a certificate. What you can do with the certificate, I don't know, but at least you have a certificate. So, a very interesting one is the introduction to data spaces. So, we already said a lot of the data space, but if I ask you what is the data space, I'm sure that really, I saw it also in the survey, nobody would know. So, just go already for this. This is a very interesting introduction in data spaces. So, it's very easy. It explains everything. You need to register. So, that means also you need to create an account and it's done. It's free. Those courses are free and they are really valuable. So you follow everything. You receive the certificate. We'll not go too deep in this, but that's the part of the trainings. We also organize events. It's also not only Europeana proposes events, it's also you, the experts, the community is proposing events. So also take contact. If you have an interesting event as this is also an event that is also published, we can also make a course of it. So this, for example, a lot of people, I was a bit astonished that there was only one person in the room interested in copyright. Okay, you had only one choice, but there is in this room certainly somebody who is maybe interested to speak about this copyright basics for cultural heritage professionals. This happened the 7th April, so that's gone, but we still have other events, and that's, for example, the 16th of June. You can still enroll. You can follow this course, Introduction to Collections, Audiences, and Stories on Europeana EU. So that was just a little, I will say, taste of what is developed in the sense of knowledge sharing and trainings and events. Okay, thank you.
Okay, and moving swiftly onwards, I wanted to highlight a couple of the member state-oriented actions that we've undertaken in recent months. Why? Because ENA very much is a grassroots community thing, right? So without an involvement of important local stakeholders, this balloon is not gonna fly, so to speak. So I'm very excited to highlight a couple of things that have happened recently, to then zoom out again and to celebrate a bit the European panorama that, of course, we also represent as a community of communities. The first thing that I wanted to highlight is this memorandum of understanding that our Europeana Foundation General Director Harry Verwaayen was able to conclude or to sign together with the Italian Ministry of Culture in December of last year. Why is it so exciting? Because this memorandum entails the provision of about 10 million digitized records to Europeana, so Italian content that is shared through Europeana with this global community of users. We think it's an exciting example that we hope to replicate with other member states. And of course, we are looking also here at our friends in Cyprus. Why not consider an initiative like this to deepen the collaboration and to scale up really the presence of Cypriot cultural heritage in the data space? Second thing that I wanted to, maybe tickle your taste buds with is this idea of an added layer of advocacy that involves high-level people in ministries, in big national institutions, but as an ambassador. So you've heard earlier about the country groups, where we really hope that local stakeholders pool their resources and make people aware of the data space and all of its benefits. This is slightly different. These people are like on a ministerial level, on a director general level, representing the whole of the GLAM sector, galleries, libraries, archives, and museums, as well as the open access movement. And you see there as the fifth person in the row, Juha Henriksson, which is one of our colleagues on the management board of the Network Association. These are high-level people that are able to engage with their peers and that are able to rally their own extensive networks when it comes to advocating for topics that are prioritary to the data space. To give you an example, currently we are very much working on continuing the contract with the European Commission for stewarding the data space. While we are working on this contract, it is important that we hear from a strategic level of decision makers as to which priorities they would like to see in something that we really can call European, where we can have these shared interests represented. It's a pilot project. We only have it currently in Finland with these 5 people. We are onboarding them and rallying them really to start with their proactive advocacy work, but maybe this also could be a model to replicate for Cyprus. Before I jump to my final topic, I wanted to not jump past our efforts to support the heritage sector in Ukraine. I think it's important that we keep on doing that. We started in 2022, right after the full-scale invasion, by publishing openly our solidarity with our Ukrainian colleagues. We then established a working group in support of Ukraine, where we are trying to be of help in whatever initiative that we can, because you probably know that things are happening all over Europe, a lot of smaller but also more extensive initiatives, and wherever we can, we try to provide a little bit of funding, to give a bit of visibility, to make stakeholders meet and engage with one another. And I would say that this is one of the prime results so far. It was actually achieved in a partnership between Europeana, an NGO called Pixelated Realities, the project XR Culture, as well as the 3D4CH Competence Center on 3D, namely the publication of a first batch of 3D digitized Ukrainian monuments and outdoor sculptures, if I can call it like that. So you can go and research this on europeana.eu or on the dataspace-culturalheritage.eu websites, and you will see these freshly produced 3D renditions of sites and monuments that have been damaged. And you know, UNESCO has already marked 515 monumental sites in Ukraine as having occurred quite extensive damage or even destruction. So I think this is a prime example of what emergency photogrammetry, in this case, can accomplish if a few key actors collaborate. And this is not the end of the story. We are hoping that this year another 40 records will be published, and we have launched an open call for Ukrainian content providers to have their content aggregated to the data space. This is where I wanted to end up, the Twinit 2 campaign. So you already heard about the Lambusa boat or ship digitization that happened 3 years ago in the scope of the first campaign. This is the follow-up. What is actually Twinit all about? It's about, I think I'm skipping a bit too far now. Yes, it's a campaign to make member states aware of how you can actually support 3D creation and enhancement. And with this specific second campaign, the emphasis was on reuse. If you 3D digitize something, what are you going to do next? What, as a creative practitioner, as a creative industry, as a researcher, as an educator, what could 3D bring for you as added value? We asked every single member state to select at least one monument, one site, one artifact, to 3D digitize it at, of course, good quality, to aggregate it to the data space, and to preconceive a reuse scenario. There was really good participation. 26 of the member states and 2 invited countries, Montenegro and Ukraine, contributed in total 55 assets. And you can see here what a rich collection that has become. Really a bit of everything, from museal objects to natural sites to cultural, archaeological digs, to built heritage, to immovable heritage. And I picked a few highlights for you. My previous life, I was a musicologist, so my interest very much is in music heritage. This is indeed the viola of Ludwig van Beethoven that was contributed by Germany. We had a coach, so this is a real-life royal vehicle, I would say, that has been digitized. You can see it, you can explore it from all angles. Let's see what kind of reuse will come to fruition from this object and onwards. The Arc de Triomphe, I think if something is iconic for France, it's this one. Of course, it's a highly visited touristic hotspot, and that is exactly one of the reasons why it was chosen for this campaign. And I also chose this one from Malta to show you that some providing countries didn't stop with just one object or one building. They really made an extensive effort to 3D document an entire landscape, cultural landscape as an asset. We hit all of the categories that were projected: heritage at risk, most visited monuments and sites, and under-digitized digital cultural heritage. So I think we achieved all of these goals. We had a plethora of reuse visions, anything that went from preservation to restoration to heritage experiences, innovative heritage experiences, and we had really high-level support. We were extremely proud to welcome the Executive Vice President Henna Virkkunen, as well as your Deputy Minister Vasiliki Kasyanidou, and the Greek Minister of Culture, Lina Mendoni. Voila. So this all as a kind of a leeway into what's going to happen here in Limassol in the next couple of days. We'll be talking about Twinit and about how 3D and AI come together in one beautiful love story tomorrow at the round table from 2 till 3:30, where I will be welcoming, among others, Ines and a couple of other well-spoken and exciting guests. So please register and do join. And the Hack It for EU event will unfold on the 27th to 28th. We are happy that with the Network Association, we can treat you to a drink to celebrate the winners in the 2 strands of this competition. And yeah, let's see what happens when we challenge people with reusing the Twinit 3D objects in their own reuse scenarios. That's it for me. I would like to invite Marinos, but he has mysteriously disappeared. Okay, there he is. He's omnipresent. Join us, Marinos.
I will do my presentation with one of my colleagues, Nadia. We are going to sit over there and do the presentation. Yes. Yes. Let me first introduce my colleague, Nadia Thalmann. She's a professor coming from Switzerland, from the University of Geneva. She has a spin-off, Miralab. And we had a joint project. Project has a history, even started 2.5 years ago, Antonella, yeah? 3 years and a half ago, with the name Oerica 3D. So, to Evrika, to ξέρετε, έτσι. The Eureka, you know, 3D. And then the extension of the project for another 1.5 years to Oerica 3D in EXA, in Metaverse, okay? So, first, discover the 3D, what the 3D presents, and secondly, take it and bring it to the metaverse and show what you can do out of that. So, now, the presentation, we have some delay, but nevertheless, I will explain to you with my colleague 2 key objects harvested in Europeana from Cyprus, representing Cyprus. The first one is coming from Limassol, and it's one of the landmark objects of the city. The mayor mentioned that, Sophie mentioned it also several times. It is the Lambusa boat, trawler. Not well known to everybody, but it's a unique object. This object exists only once in the Pan-Hellenic area, and it's here in Limassol. There is a hidden, ironic story about the EU development here. And that's why, one of the main reasons why the municipality of Limassol is preserving that, yeah? So, now, thanks, of course, because you don't know who we are, I will just only say a few words. Mnemosyne was the goddess, ancient Greek mythology, the goddess for what? To keep the memory of the ancient Greeks alive, okay? So, she had 9 daughters, and all 10 together had a unique temple. And the name of the temple is well preserved in the most languages of the world. If you say this word, then do you know that? No? It's Greek word. It's an ancient word. Museum. So, museum is a space where the ancient Greeks went to do what? Mnemosyna. They are memorials. Yeah, this is what we do. And the Christianity took over from the mythology. Okay? So now, this is who we are, what we are doing here in Mnemosyne, and we are trying, in other words, to keep alive the memory up forever, or at least for a certain time period, of Cyprus. Now, it was some time ago a call from the former mayor of the city of Nicosia, of Limassol, asking for our support. That's the trawler on the backside, sitting somewhere outside of Limassol for several years, and the council decided to preserve it. But it was something missing, and it was very important. The naval drawings, the drawings of the boat were not evident. With that in place, then the people for preservation can start working. And here is where we contributed with our knowledge and without our work. You see here the situation, how the trawler was when we arrived there, but then you see what we did with the project coming, Eureka 3D, where we digitized, and out of that we did what? Not only the 3D reconstruction, the reverse engineering and the 3D reconstruction of the boat, but also created guidelines for everybody to start working in digitization and so on. So now, you see some of the images. Here is a QR code. If you want to scan it, you go directly to the place where you can find more information about the boat. Yep. I will wait another 1 second, 2 seconds, and so on. So, yeah, and this is another one, QR code. The one is about the project, the second is about the trawler. So, now, pathology, yeah? You see here what was the problem? And, of course, the reconstructed one. Then the entire process, the boat in pieces, the drawings, of course, all this, what it has had to be generated, and why? From a trawler to a museum. This is going to be the first Cypriot Naval Museum, and it's going to be not so far away from here. Yeah? So, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, you see it, there is one of the goals, what? Overfishing, stop overfishing, yeah? Or fish underwater, yeah? Life underwater. And the trawler was one of the boats to do what? To destroy the life under the sea, which has been financed to be produced by the EU. And the EU financed that to destroy it. And the EU financed that to save the first and only existing trawler just for the memory of the city of Limassol. Yeah? So, life below water and so on. So, now, that's the Lambusa story, but you will find it also. We are recording the presentation here. I need to fly. But whatever we did with this Lambusa, we did it not only for the city of Limassol. Please have in mind, that's a project for which we haven't received any cent from the city of Limassol, not from the university, not from the government of Cyprus. We did it based on 2 EU projects, the ERA project, the European Research Area project, and the Eureka 3D project. Now, here we created a nice story. We integrated the entire story in a holistic one approach about the boat. And here, 2 years ago, the boat has been submitted or harvested to Europeana from the minister in charge of culture here in Cyprus as a significant object representing a part of our memory, yeah? In such a way so that we are in the position to what? To preserve also, in a general way, the memory of Europe and Cyprus here together. Now, the second one, which is extremely important case, is coming from a monastery, a unique one monastery, and here is where we are moving from the Eurica 3D to the Eurica 3D XR project. There you see the monastery where it is on the western part of the island. There is the Englistra. You see it on the middle of the slide, and then on the right, the monument as such. But that's the exterior. The beauty is inside, is not outside. And if we have a look here, what is the significance, what is so important, is almost 1,000 years old monument, yeah? It's a monument which is interconnected, it's a cave, yeah, as such, and has a significant religious and historical importance for the local people, but also for our island. It's a monument under risk. Why? Because the area there is moving as the entire island is moving. And that's observations from the satellites you see here over the time, starting from 1963 to 2019, and there is a significant movement. The entire hill is moving, yeah? And cracks are visible in the monument, and those cracks, yesterday when we were there during our demonstration, we said the cracks is the language of the monument shouting to the owners, to the visitors, I have a problem and it's very painful. I'm ready to collapse, take action. And the proof, scientifically talking, this is what you see here, the degradation of the entire area and so on, yeah? So now, I will hand over the floor to my colleague, who during this project,
You are now in the southwestern part of Cyprus, about 10 kilometers north of the town of Bal.
Yes, just at the beginning as an introduction, we are now moving from the Eurica 3D to the Eurica 3D XR, and there was a dream, a time with the colleague Nadia. She is going to tell you all about that, the story behind, the documentation that we did, and a part of the result here. Yes, the video, and then Nadia, this is the mode. Yes, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Marinos. So I won't comment the video as it is stopped, but maybe I just say that since the 80s, I am a pioneer in modeling virtual humans, just to know whom I am. And we have, with Daniel Talman at that time, made a film on Marilyn Monroe and Humphrey Bogart in 3D, who met in Montreal in a cafe, and we have defined a romance. It's just to say that I'm almost born in my research in the field of modeling 3D humans. Okay, so now I skip the years, all the research we have done, and I come back to this experience. And fortunately, we were coming to Cyprus in 2012, and with Marinos, we discussed, it was a research project, and we discussed about making experience in 3D XR, and Marinos brought me to the monastery. And it was absolutely fantastic. First of all, you have seen, for those who were there yesterday, that it was very beautiful, all the fresco. And we met Father or Neophytos, and he was very much willing to have this in 3D and in VR. So it's how the idea started, and is how we decided to think about this project. So you see, from 2012, the years went on, and finally, I was invited to join in the Eureka 3D XR, the project. Now you can see the film, at least an extract of what we have demonstrated.
You are now in the southwestern part of Cyprus, about 10 kilometers north of the town of Paphos, near the village of Talla. Amidst this remote and rugged, yet beautiful and serene landscape, in 1159, Saint Neophytos found the ideal dwelling where he would wholly dedicate his life to God.
Dear visitors, thank you for travelling from near and far to visit my Enklistra. It gives me great pleasure to guide you through this hallowed space. I settled here 7 years after I became a monk. Although I was delighted when I first joined the monastery of Gutsovendis, I soon began to feel a deep longing for the eremitic life. I asked the hegumen, as we call the abbot of a monastery in Greek, to let me go on my own, but he refused. He granted me, however, permission to travel to the Holy Land. For me, the journey was not merely a pilgrimage. I hoped to find a hermit who would accept me as his disciple.
In the period that followed, the saint lived in austere solitude, patiently and perseveringly carving further into the rock, deepening the cave and creating the first 2 chambers, his cell and a sanctuary, where he placed an altar to celebrate Holy Communion. His life, and with it the story of the cave, took a new turn when Vasilios Ginamos became Bishop of Paphos. Ginamos had long known and respected Neophytos. For 4 years, the new bishop persistently urged him to accept a disciple and form a monastic community.
In obeying the bishop's will, I ceased to be merely a recluse. I became the hegumen of the monastery. The newly arrived monks began carving cells, storerooms, and other essential chambers into the rocky mountainside next to the Enklistra, as well as a refectory behind my cell.
The most distinctive feature of the sanctuary is the striking variation in ceiling heights. At the centre, the low rock displays an oversized image of Christ Pantocrator from the Enklistra's 3rd decorative phase. To the west and east are 2 bays, with the eastern rising steeply to a significantly higher curved pinnacle. Directly below is the holy altar, made of rock slabs. Here, before a wooden cross, the Holy Communion was celebrated. The east wall has small arched windows that let light into the dark cave. You can also see alcoves, as in other parts of the Enklistra, used for placing objects and books. The concave west wall shows 7 life-size monastic saints, while above the north door is Christ Emmanuel amidst the scene of the Annunciation.
Please enter and see my first and final dwelling. After deepening the cave, I stopped at this point. I placed flat stone slabs to make a bed and a small desk. I spent endless hours sitting here praying, writing my own manuscripts. I wrote 16 books in the course of my secluded life, and copying the texts of others.
The original decoration of the cell must have been truly magnificent. It featured prophets on the apex of the vaulted ceiling, warrior saints on the eastern wall, along with an inscription about Saint Neophytos' journey from Gutsovendis to Paphos, the crucifixion complemented by saints on the southern wall, and circular decorative patterns on the western wall, where the recesses left no space for figural representations.
I hope your visit to my Enklistra has been rewarding, and that my life will inspire you to embrace some of my guiding principles. True peace does not come from material wealth or status, but from focusing on what truly matters. Achieving this requires self-knowledge. Pause, reflect, discover what brings you joy and fulfillment, and stay true to yourself even if you have to stand alone. Hold fast to faith, patience, and perseverance, for they will guide you through life's adversities. Reach out to others with care, in spirit, in heart, and in action. Share your wisdom and knowledge, and in doing so, enrich both your soul and those around you. Do your small part, so that the world you leave behind is at least a little better than the one you received. Go in peace, dear visitor.
So just a few words about this. What you have seen is what we see in the glasses for those who were not at the monastery. So the images are taken from the glasses. So that's very important. So you have seen, you have a menu, and with some gestures even, you can decide which part of the story you would like to see. So just to say, this is the beginning. And this collaboration was absolutely fantastic because at Mirala we work with Nejma Kadi, who is here, and she is the one who has made yeah. And with, of course, Marinos, who organized everything and also direct the research. And with Maria, you have seen that it's something that is very important when you work on this kind of thing, that you just not do an avatar. Here, what was important, that, for example, thanks to Maria, we had, who is really the specialist of this time, then we got the right information, the right behavior, and also we have, in CAT, they have recorded a person with the voice. We have linked, when we made the 3D avatar or the 3D monk. And this all, we try to make it something that is not Disney-like, but at least going to the direction of the respect of, and the most fantastic thing, on Saturday, unfortunately I was not there, but all the team was there, and they have shown this to the monks, and they tried everything, they looked at everything, and they were absolutely enthusiastic. I think Marinos can give some words about the reaction of the monks. This was maybe the best gift we could receive when you do something in cultural heritage.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Nadia, and thanks also to Maria, to Antonella. You were the boss, Najma, to the entire team. First time happening, at least not only in Cyprus, but on a pan-European scale and worldwide, yeah? Seeing the sun coming out of the fresco, appearing in front of you, and start talking and chatting and all these kind of things. So now, do your part to improve the world, yeah? That's where the last words of the sun here. That was a compressed version of the video, of course, but it was a nice example to show, to illustrate, to demonstrate of the rich cultural heritage that we have in Cyprus, how we can, let's say, use and reuse the high quality of content after the digitization. It's up to us what we're going to do. That monument has been harvested again as a significant object from Cyprus to Europeana 2 weeks ago from the Minister of Culture. And when on Saturday, we went first there to show it to the monks, to the owners, the results. And we asked them from 0 to 10, please review, evaluate, and give us your feedback. What do you think that it was the answer? Just say a number. Excuse me? Yes. 11. Yes, that was the answer. And we are very proud of that. It's a unique part, and we show from A to Z that content in Europeana can be a high quality, underline, high quality of content in Europeana can be used and reused. Lambusa and the Englistra of San Neophytos in Paphos. Two examples, unique, and we are waiting for others from the communities. I see here representatives from a lot of municipalities and communities from Cyprus, and here is the way forward. And thank you very much for giving us this opportunity, yeah? Thank you. Thank you, Nadia.
Thank you very much, both of you. I think this was a perfect fire starter, indeed, for anyone who can think of replicating with their own collection, with their own stakeholders, this kind of ambitious but achievable project.
But I have to say something, which is tomorrow, Tony, we have to bring it in the presentation tomorrow morning. The first ever in Europeana harvested 3D model is coming from Cyprus. And it has been harvested by the former Minister of Education and Culture, George Demosthenos, when? During the first time when Cyprus had the presidency of the European Commission, 14 years ago, Asinu. And it was a similar case, a similar way of how use and reuse, yeah? So now, with more objects, enriching the content of Europeana. Thank you.
And it shows how planting a seed can indeed yield rich produce. So let's continue this round of inspiration talks with a truly inspiring colleague, Maria Cangelidou. She will speak to you about the Network Association's Communicators Community. So this is for anyone specialized in, interested in, enthusiastic about communicating about the kind of work that we do. I will also briefly introduce the next speaker, Antonella Fresa, who is representing the Photo Consortium aggregator, a thematic aggregator for the data space. Antonella will follow Maria's presentation, and then the stand will go back to my colleague Ines to inspire anyone else that has not yet an idea for what to do next, with some ideas for opportunities and pathways for engagement.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Hi everyone. Καλησπέρα σας. Είμαι πάρα πολύ χαρούμενη που είμαι εδώ μαζί σας σήμερα. Τώρα που πλησιάζουμε και το τέλος αυτής της προεδρίας που ξεκίνησε με λίγη περιπέτεια, αλλά νομίζω καταλήγει πολύ καλά. Hi everybody. I'm really happy to be here for this event that happens to this great week actually for culture in Cyprus, with this wonderful event here, and then the Europa Nostra Awards in a few days in Nicosia at the end of the EU presidency. So the communicators community, ENA, the Europeana Network Association, it's all about people. I'm here in front of you, first of all, as a communicator. I am a journalist by trade. I've worked in Greece, Cyprus, occasionally in many other places, so I've often communicated cultural issues. I am also the communications lead for an organization that was born a few years ago, about 16 years ago in Greece. It's called the Heritage Management Organization. It's a capacity building organization that trains heritage professionals around the world. I am also a member of the ENA Members Council. I was elected to it a couple of years ago, and we have 18 spots to go in this year's elections. And I am also a member of the communicators community and the steering group. So ENA is a network, and it's all about people, and people are all about communities. So we have a great number of communities in ENA, and one of them, and in my opinion, a very important one, is the communicators community. Hold on, I'm going to skip this. So who are we? We've got, okay, I just realized that in our previous slides we said we had about 1,900 members, but my information was we've got 2,700. I can tell you I'm not being a reliable communicator at the moment, but we either have 1 out of 3 members or 1 out of 2 Europeana members, is also a member of the communicators community. So who is this community for? It's for anyone communicating culture. They could be involved in communications, as I am, but they could also, for example, be educators, or they could be involved in European Union projects that need to be communicated and disseminated, or they can be involved in tourism, which in many capacities is all about communicating heritage, or they could be curators, they could be heritage interpreters. So communicators is a very broad term, and most of us could actually be members of this community. On a personal note, I ended up being a member of the community because I had to communicate an EU project called SHIFT, the Horizon Europe project, and I have to say Europeana was invaluable for that. Not just ENA, but the entire network, the entire organization, the foundation. They're really great places to address and to disseminate knowledge. So it's all about people working in communicating culture. It's all about people being passionate about communicating digital culture heritage and heritage digitization. What we do? Well, we do a lot of things. We try to support our members and the Europeana Foundation itself. We create training resources and activities that will make it easier for you to work and disseminate and communicate whatever it is that you do. We also try to give people digital communication skills. We try to share examples of digital culture in action, but also good practices for communicators and how to effectively showcase all the work that we have been doing. And we support Europeana and activities, and also the aggregator community activities all around. And last but not least, I actually feel that's the most important thing, we help people network. This is a network. It's all about peer-to-peer conversations. It's all about exchanging points of view. It's all about exchanging good practices. Again, we try to do this by encouraging creativity and engagement both of our peers, but also of our audiences in a variety of ways. And we try to help you develop your networks and develop collaboration with others working in culture, and not just culture, but tourism, education, and anything else that could possibly further your goals. Now, our community in action. So we've got a newsletter that you will have seen. We've got a LinkedIn communicators group that you can join. We take active part in many Europeana communicators activities. One of them was last week's Digital Storytelling Festival, which will give you a great overview of amazing efforts, to communicate digital culture and cultures digitization to a variety of audiences. It was really good last year. It's been really good every year I've actually attended, and I absolutely recommend going online, following the sessions, and registering for next year. We hold webinars in a series of topics that we feel are of interest to communicators. They're often topics that are controversial or hard to touch upon, for example, decolonization. Last year, we held a series of webinars in collaboration with colleagues in Brazil. We found that there is a lot of interest in collaborating with Europeana and others, with Europeana and ENA and other communities as well, from people outside Europe. So this is a really new avenue for us, and we really appreciated it. We also held a series of meetings and webinars on cultural heritage, digital heritage, and tourism, and how they can work together. And we've seen that this, in many ways, can keep cultural heritage active and accessible, first of all, in times of crisis, like, say, COVID-19. But I'll go back to Ukraine, where enabling culture to go digital and enabling workers in the cultural sector to communicate this has helped keep Ukrainian museums open, and it has also helped keep them serving their communities. This was a part of a European program called Culture Helps, actually. One thing we've tried to start doing, and we're going to be doing more of, is we're going to have informal meetups, face-to-face meetups, because it's really great meeting everybody online, but as you've seen here, having coffees, exchanging views, and you know, shaking people's hands, so you get all sorts of ideas and relationships percolating when you meet face-to-face. So we held last year a face-to-face meetup in Athens. We also held a brief face-to-face meetup in Siena in September in Digital Heritage 2025. And we hope we're going to keep doing that for the communicators community in the near future. If you want to organize a meetup, please reach out and contact us. If you want to suggest ideas for communicators to explore, please reach out. Become a member of the community. Do you want to become a member of our steering group? Please put yourself forward. We look forward to seeing more of you and to seeing more of you face to face. Thank you.
So we have already been introduced. My name is Antonella. I'm Italian, and I am the Vice President of the Photo Consortium. That is one of the more than 40 aggregators of Europeana. And Photo Consortium is also the coordinator of the Eureka 3D and Eureka 3D XR, whose results have been just presented by Marinos. So this is the connection. But I'm not going to talk about Eureka 3D and Eureka 3D XR. You will have a full presentation tomorrow morning. I'm just trying to tell you what are these aggregators. For those who know, it will be a repetition, but we know that we are among people who have already shared a lot. So what are the aggregators? You know that in Europeana, the publication does not go straight from the cultural institution to Europeana. There is a path that goes through the aggregators. So the aggregators are the mediators, the interface between cultural heritage institutions and Europeana. And it was mentioned earlier today that there are two major groups of aggregators, the national and regional aggregators. Now here is, I made the mistake. This is not, this should be domain. I notice it now. So there are basically two groups of aggregators. Aggregators that aggregate contents from a certain domain on a certain theme, and aggregators that aggregate content at a national or regional level. They have a similar scope, because the scope is always to interface the cultural heritage institution to Europeana, but they work differently. In particular, the domain and thematic aggregators are generally associations of museums, picture libraries, universities, so associations that are interested in aggregating a certain group of collections focusing on a certain theme or on a certain domain. The national aggregators instead aggregate cultural heritage institutions that want to publish in Europeana from a certain area. So we are trying to coordinate our work. The daily work of the aggregator is to provide a content pipeline. So to work with the cultural heritage institutions to help them to share their data, basically to produce metadata that are compatible with the Europeana data model, the so-called mapping of metadata. And this is fundamental because in Europeana we publish with a unique standard. It is the strength of Europeana, a unique standard for all the cultural heritage institutions that publish in Europeana, means that we can make a search on all the 60 million contents that are in Europeana. We exchange best practices because in the preparation of the metadata and the paradata there are good practices to be shared, lessons learned. We participate or coordinate webinars, encounters in presence and online. And we support the assessment of high-quality data sets. So we help, we support, we work with the cultural heritage institutions in order to produce the best quality of what is published in Europeana. The second category of work is promoting the data space, because even if here, probably at this time of the day, the people who are still listening know about Europeana, there is still a lot to be done in order to make aware the cultural heritage sector about Europeana. A lot that is done by the Europeana Network Association, and the aggregators support this dissemination. Because we wanted to promote Europeana as a platform that is interoperable, inclusive, that allows wide access, that enable reuse, that support innovation. And what does it mean in practice? That all the contents that is published in Europeana has a clear license. And that is fundamental. Without a clear license, the reuse cannot be enabled. Or, yes, content is reused, but in a jungle where there are no rights respected. So the fact that in Europeana there is a control on the content, there is a control on the way, on the language that is used on the metadata. It was mentioned before by Maria. There is a control on the fact that each item has a license, and this is really true every time that you go in Europeana. Each item has a license, is a fundamental step ahead for the reuse and for the innovation. We connect the communities in a thematic vision perspective, in a domain perspective, in a regional or a country perspective. Yes, national, so-and-so, country I prefer. And yes, nation is a concept that is very much under discussion at the moment. For example, there are countries that are not a nation from a certain point of view, but they are state. So the concept of a nation should be considered. And upskilling, so capacity building. As we have to inform cultural heritage institutions about the existence of Europeana, we have to upskill the professionals of cultural heritage to be ready for participation in these initiatives. But as I told you, there are different aggregators that sometimes also overlap, because the frontier, the border between domains, teams, regions, countries is not precise. So we decided to set up an aggregators coordination. We call it the European Aggregators Forum. It involves all the more than 40 aggregators. We meet periodically. We create, we try to also to participate to the outreach activities, but in particular, we coordinate our work in order to avoid the confusion, to avoid the duplication towards the same institution when we propose the publication in Europeana. The role of the aggregators is to facilitate this interface between the data space and the cultural heritage institutions. And in this scope, we aggregators, we have to gather data in the data space that are heterogeneous. that come from different sources. We don't have a specific area to work with. And so the content and the data sets should be ready to support real innovation, a new way to complement the Englistra, the monk, the relationship with the religious community, the technological people. So there are many elements that get together when we work with the content providers. And so the scope of the aggregators is to provide the services that guarantee authenticity, trustworthy, robust, shareable, reusable contents. And every time that we deal with the new data set, we go through this checklist. At the end, which is the final aim of what we are doing in Europeana with the aggregators, to implement the recommendation from the European Commission to the Member States of November 2021. And there we are supposed to digitize a volume of data from the cultural heritage sector that is enormous. So it is really important that we work together. What is specific in the recommendation of 2021 is the focus on 3D. I heard that in these days a colleague was saying, yes, but the recommendation doesn't talk only about 3D. There are other contents. Yes, it is true. And in fact, we have the aggregators that work on awareness. We have the European Network Association that helps awareness. We have the capacity building, etc., etc. But the 3D presents some features that complicate the work, that makes our work more complicated. Two features, two problems, basically. The first is that in digitizing in 3D, there are some aspects that do not exist in 2D. First, we have to represent in 3D on a surface that is 2D, because the screen is 2D, something that is 3D, that is dynamic, that when it moves, it changes. So there is a complexity of software beyond the representation and the visualization of 3D objects on a 2D surface. Secondly, the still image that we see on the screen is a still image, because when we look at the screen, we don't see something that moves. Yes, now we are working on animated 3D. So, but generally, what we have seen today, apart the avatar of the Englista, they are objects that we have to move. So we have a still image in front of us. And this is a projection of a 3D object. Again, a complexity in the software that should be able to understand this. Finally, the 3D digitization is different from the 2D, because the equipment that we use, the movement of this equipment around the object, the fact that the scanning is not always from a unique point, but the laser scan moves, it can be mounted on a drone. So there are a lot of data that needs to be aggregated, stored, and associated with the 3D model. And these are called paradata. So this is the challenge of 3D, which is much more than 2D. And I don't know if when the recommendation of 2021 was written, everybody was aware of the complexity of this challenge. So As a photo consortium, we come from photography, but we are aware that the photography is just a representation on a 2D of something that happens in a 3D space. Maybe more than 3D, because there is also the time when it moves. So quality. The first point is that the quality matters. Quality of the 3D representation, the 3D model. So a point cloud is not a 3D model. Is this clear to everybody? No. No, I can assure you that we received for the publication into Twin IT collection point clouds, and they are not 3D models. So there are transformation of point clouds into 3D model, again, complicate software that not always works in the right way. So quality matters because of the quality of the 3D model, the quality of the paradata, and the quality of the planning of the 3D digitization. So on this, we, as a photo consortium in Eureka 3D and Eureka 3D XR, has worked on guidelines. And these are distributed for capacity building. They are freely accessible. And we published in Europeana Learning Platform a course. A second one for XR is under preparation. So the Europeana Network Association is fundamental to have the students, the trainees that look at these courses. Otherwise, we publish on Europeana Learning Platform, and we have done a good job, but it finishes the impact is not delivered. So the relationship between Europeana Foundation, the Network Association, and the aggregators is fundamental. So I invite everybody. There are also cards that are distributed where you have the QR code. But more challenges are coming. We heard today about AI, and the new challenges are connected with AI. We already heard a lot from Ines on AI, and I will not spend more words. But in effect, what AI is, what an intelligence and transparent and culturally valuable AI application to cultural heritage requires to consider the content not separated from the context, from the contextual information, because the AI is trained through data sets. If the data sets are agnostic and they do not take into account what is around the object, then the AI is not intelligent, executes what we give to the AI. In this sense, we are promoting a new concept that is going from the digital twin to the memory twin. A memory twin is a digital twin plus what is the memory that is around that object. It could be 2D or 3D, a book or a document in the archive, but for the cultural heritage sector, that object is not very meaningful. The object needs to be contextualized. And now with the AI, the challenge is even more important. So piloting, capacity building, awareness campaign, Ines told us about this. Which is the future of the aggregators? Well, first, there is an evolution of Europeana towards the data space. This means new roles also for the aggregators. We are in the middle of a big discussion to have the aggregators to follow the evolution of Europeana. The responsible AI readiness, that is a very pressing problem. The preparation for XR experiences, because XR is storytelling, and we heard about the digital storytelling, and storytelling is at the basis of widening access to cultural heritage, and it is also at the basis of business exploitation of the contents through the collaboration between cultural heritage institutions and the private developers, private companies, creative enterprises. And last but not least, even if it seems already done, but we have not finished at all, automatic enrichment of metadata, because it is through a good set of metadata that we can really access millions, tens of millions, and maybe hundreds of millions of contents. Finished.
So this is working excellent. So I have the honor to, at the end, again, invite you all, again repeat what you have been hearing for the whole day, for the individuals to join our ENA community, for representatives of organizations to collaborate with aggregators, for the ones that are interested in AI to contact me. I'll be here also tomorrow. And yeah, with this, I would give the floor to Sophie for the Q&A. Sorry, yeah, okay.
And for the code, huh?
I think there was a few times already today, but okay.
Okay. Those of you who missed the code the first time around, capture it here. Just take this minute and a half that you need to submit some of your personal data. We will carefully handle them, and we hope to welcome you. Both of us review membership applications every single month, so we will be looking out for peak in Cypriot submissions. And apart from this, indeed, we invite any thought, any impression, any idea, any question that you might have at this point. Not everybody likes just jumping up in a room full of people, so let me also share this address with you, where you can drop us a note at any point in time. We will see it with the management board and get back to you in whatever way we can be helpful. But are there any immediate questions now? Because in that case, we can run to you with a microphone, and we can involve all the speakers that you've heard earlier.
And the first question goes to?
Xenophon Zaboulis. I would like to ask between the 3D reconstruction challenges and particularly the presentation of 3D models, some of which are made from challenging materials such as metallic, glass, transparent, translucent, and all of this. What are the plans? Because some digitization methods are beginning to address and are able to capture the geometry and present them in a satisfactory way. But what are the plans to be able to show such models realistically in the future?
I think this is a question for our 3D specialist. I don't know if Antonella from the Eureka 3D and XR project wants to answer.
I don't have the answer, but we had a very interesting exercise with the daguerreotypes, where, because we digitized in 3D daguerreotypes. The case of the daguerreotype is important to understand the workshop, the time, the origin of the daguerreotype. But the daguerreotype is reflective. And we have here the partner who did the digitization of the daguerreotypes.
Can we double check if the handheld microphone is working?
Yes, works. Actually, I'm the cultural institution, so we don't need the work. But the main thing for the reflection was to avoid this surface that is so mirroring. It behaves as a mirror. So the thing was to build a set with black clothes and then with 3 cameras shooting at the same time, and with a turntable in the middle, and always you need some extra work after this, because otherwise you always get the reflective of the mirror. So that was the most challenging, was to learn how to avoid this. And that was mainly trying again and again, and is what the photographer did. Try again and again until they get the good results. And as we digitized 100 daguerreotypes, it means that we follow the same process then for all of them. So with one turn, you shoot 24 times for 3 cameras. That was multiplied by 2 because it's 2 sides. And then the manual work, as I said, with AGSoft, and like this, we get a good result. But it must be said that we didn't use extra software. We keep the daguerreotypes as it could be reproduced. So that means that, for example, you don't see the daguerreotypes in negative, just in positive. So we could also show them in both, but then it's an extra software and it's like I say, a trick, it's not real. So we keep this way, and that's the way we solve this.
Xenophon, I think this is a guy you can talk to. Yes, this is David Iglesias from the Juntamente Girona, also the president of the Photo Consortium aggregator. So I think it would be a good idea for you to have a coffee at some point.
I'll first give it here.
Hi, I'm Ronald. Test 1, 2. I can raise my voice, but
yes,
1, 2.
Now you're there.
1 better? Working? Okay. I'm Ronald Haynes from Cambridge University and co-chairing the FFF 3D Technical Spec Group. And oh, good. I'll do my intro song now. No. Ronald Haynes, Cambridge University, and co-chair FFF 3D Community Technical Spec. Just wanted to pick up and complement that because we have a lot of members experimenting with these problems. And in a way, it's a combination of capture, post-processing as mentioned, and viewer capability. Because one of the things turning it around is Gaussian splatting is shown. You have to start from also being able to capture that in some ways. Some of the newer equipment has blue laser, among other things, that can handle a variety of color and lighting situations. So in a way, there's probably a package that we have to put together. Yeah.
Geometry accurately, even if I know currently the material properties and the diffusion, the diffraction, all of the translucent, I cannot show it unless I do either Gaussian splatting or physically based rendering, which are like high-end.
As a quick follow-up, that means we also have to be able to catalog and connect to multiple versions. Gaussian splatting is not the best necessarily for preservation purposes, it's better for showing. So our cataloging, our storage situations have to handle that, which comes to a question, if I can follow up, is I need segue. A lot of our institutions are still using Sketchfab, not a particularly good, oh, I'm okay. So, no, sorry. So we certainly have alternatives for that. Certainly Eureka 3D has storage for this. You have your own viewer. We're entering a world where we're probably going to need multiple viewers to be able to deal with different things. So I hope together we can map out a collaborative future to solve a lot of these things. Because we've been so used to packaging everything together, we need to modularize more, I think.
Antonella, maybe you want to join me for a moment to comment on this.
I fully agree that we need a collaborative work, and I think that the idea that we need a packaged solution is also relevant, because capturing and techniques for viewing are both necessary. We cannot look only to the viewer part, because otherwise we do not serve correctly the cultural heritage institution that, yes, it needs to view on Europeana, but the most important is to have a good representation that is reliable for research and for preservation. So, packaged solution capturing and viewers, and packaged solution that is viewer and storage. So it is a multiple versions of the viewers. We are already developing 2 viewers, because we needed another viewer for the animated monk. That is a special kind of data that needed another viewer. So yes, multiple viewers, definitely. But a multiple belonging to a collection of viewers that are for everybody, because if everybody develops his or her own viewer, it's a jungle again. We are no more interoperable.
I feel here a good topic for a task force or a working group under the tech community. Yeah, really. Thank you so much. Marina.
And Thursday, before we give you the floor, sir, sorry for that. Thursday, it's going to be a dedicated panel here for 2-3 hours to discuss the pan-European problem dedicated on 3D viewer. It's a shame for Europe that Europe has not a 3D viewer, a standardized 3D viewer. And we will debate about that and so on. Yep.
So come together over this on Thursday and then consider the task force or the working group, okay? We are happy to embed you and to support you. I see a couple of more hands. I realize it's quite late. I will give the floor to this lady first, but this gentleman has been waiting for longer. So would you be willing to let the lady go first?
Yeah, why not?
Thank you very much. Please.
I'm sorry. I didn't want to pass anyone. So I'm Marcia Villarix from Nova University in Portugal. So considering the viewers, definitely, the ones that are commercial available also have the degree of frustration for the institutions. They always look to the models and say, this is not my object. So we have been working with 26 museums, and most of the times they are happy when having videos of high resolution, high rendered models. So this is maybe another format that we can offer for visualization, because we can really have a high degree. So, but my question was more or less connected with all these packages, and just to know, I'm really new to the Europeana, part of knowing it exists for already a lot of time, how it connects with SIPA heritage documentations, because they also have a lot of guidelines on how to do digitization, mainly for buildings, I would say. Yeah.
That is a question that I would like to play on to any colleague who has the technical knowledge to answer this. It's a bit specialized, so I'm afraid I cannot give you an answer right now.
SIPA, it's an organization from ICOMOS, so that was my question.
SIPA is the acronym of the French 4 words. The French colleagues can help me. Comité International Photogrammetrique Architecture, whatever, SIPA. So it's a scientific committee of ICOMOS, the International Council of Monuments, dedicated, focusing on digital documentation of tangible content. Yes, they have a lot. and they can do even more.
Yeah.
But the problem is it's an international scientific committee. People are, volunteers.
Yep.
They do their best.
Okay.
And whatever it's going to come out, it has to be something which works, is waterproof, is sustainable, and everybody can use and reuse. And here is the problem. Funding has to be in place. Professionals have to come together, have to develop something made in EU. And we think, as presidency, and this is something which I have to mention as a parenthesis, at the end of this week, we are going to have a position paper. For that 3D viewer challenge and problem existing in Europe, is going to be a dedicated page for the policymakers to take action. Policymakers, I mean the politicians, let's say in this way. Yeah, there is a problem, it's not a challenge, it's a problem, and they have to take care. We are the taxpayers, we are advising them free of charge, they have to do something. Yeah, sorry, sorry.
No, perfect, thank you, Marinos. Also, let's just note, indeed, that this is the kickoff of a week where we are hopefully together mostly in the different sessions that are unfolding. So let's keep on finding each other, reaching out and addressing these kind of topics with the specialists that are gathered here. Now I want to go to the really patient person here on the top.
I just wanted to say something about this digitization actually aspects that were mentioned earlier. And a project that we are doing called XR Culture that has basically developed a method based on Gaussian splatting that was mentioned earlier to digitize glass objects. And we have a range of glass objects digitized from the museum in Murano in Venice. And it has a poster outside, so if you want to see this, basically, the methods are there. And also on the 3D viewer, we have developed a middleware that basically supports multiple viewers to use content and capabilities to present basically, let's say, 3D objects in the way that is required for the user experience. This is also something we present out there. It's called 3D Big Data Space project, and I'm happy to give you a bit more information when you look at the posters. Thank you.
Thanks very much. I've been taking a look at these posters during the coffee break, and I mean, I know that there is a whole world of work that's going on behind the scenes to do everything that one of these posters implies. So I think the collective knowledge and expertise that we have here, it's quite incredible. So thank you for sharing, and yeah, let's check in a little bit later to talk about your project specifically.
Sophie, we would not do right if the final word would not go to our previous chair of Europeana Network Association, Rob, here with us. So I think, Rob, please inspire everybody to join us.
I'm not trying to get the last word here. I want to talk about the skills gap, or ask about the skills gap. But first, I'd like to congratulate the present board. As I feel qualified as a member of the previous 3 management boards of ENA to congratulate this inspiring and impressive management board on the work they're doing, and just keep it going. You're doing great stuff. So the skills gap. We hear that the EU is going to be 8 million IT specialists short of the target for the digital decade in 2030. And there's no reason to believe that the cultural heritage sector is any exception to that. In fact, it's probably worse in the sector, although we don't really have the data to prove that. So this becomes a question of scale, really, I think. And there are lots of initiatives going on, competence centres, charter groups, public and private sector training providers, not least the Europeana Academy, all kinds of stuff going on. It feels to me like there ought to be a big role here for a network in bringing all this together and spreading it around. And I'm just wondering, I'm very happy to say, proud to say in a sense that the ENA network is not by now the best, the largest digital heritage network in Europe with 6,000 people, but this is still only, we don't know exactly how many cultural heritage specialists there are when you take into account the institutional ones, the heritage scientists and so on, but it's many tens of thousands. And so my question is, what do you think the opportunities are for scaling up the work of the network to reach more of these people by 2030 for upskilling, as Antonella was pointing to? So the aggregators come into it as well, I guess. And what do you think the constraints are? How far can you get towards helping Europe achieve this goal in our sector?
Thank you. I have a reply to give, but I also want to invite my colleagues here from the communicators community, from the management board to jump in and to take the mic. From my point of view, we are a bit fragmented. That's also what you described as. So with a lot of initiatives, a lot of funded projects under different strands, whether that's Horizon, whether that's Erasmus, even Creative Europe, we're doing things that create learning resources, that yield learning pathways. They are out there, but how to match that with the needs in the sector, that's a different question. I think that unless we manage to integrate, to interconnect different platforms, different offerings, the scaling will be very, very difficult. So I think the fact that Europeana Academy is somewhat in its infancy, so it's emerging, it still has to grow. I think the next step is, a very important step, is to interconnect with other offerings. And then I'm thinking, for instance, of the cloud for cultural heritage, where there's also capacity building happening in that context. Also, a lot of taxpayers' money is going there. So I think creating the synergies and making sure that people who are actively looking for something, a skill to acquire, a tool to learn, a scenario to play out, that they have a port of call. While now it's very much scattered and it's almost a coincidence, I would say, that if you are looking for something, you're actually finding it. So that would be my plea, to invest here in, shall I call it interoperability? It's also such a buzzword, but I would say that different platforms offering educational resources need to at least interoperate or synergize. How to accomplish that is maybe the topic of a future call under an Erasmus program or a cost action or something like that. Let's write something together, Rob. I think we can take one more question, and I will refer others to email, to interacting with us over the next couple of days. I think there's a lady in the back that wanted to contribute. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Carolina. I'm hesitant because I don't know if my question belongs to here or not. And because even though I'm getting familiar with Europeana, I don't really fully know it. But my question is also looking to the future, because the more I listen, the AI and aggregate more data and talks about 3D, we are talking about massive amounts of data. It's not a trivial thing. I don't know if Europeana storage this or where is the storage. That is another issue. But then when we talk about all this free, I would say nothing is really free. Now I will connect you. I'm working with another project which is linked to data centers. And I know Europe wants to have also the control of their own data. But these data centers are really creating a lot of other disturbance, which will, in consequence, it will also create, for example, it might be depending where you locate them, they will impact also cultural landscapes and different spaces. So coming back to my question, if we go into trying to close loops or to understand all what we are doing, does Europeana has a vision? Yes, we want to have all this data, connect with everybody, use it. where we will put it and how we will be responsible of all this data that we are trying to collect and to do. I think we are in the correct moment to trying to close the loop, if that makes sense. I don't know if you had been thinking about it. I don't know if it's relevant, but that's my question.
Yeah, okay, if I can maybe, reply half of the question is that, of course, every country, every member state is investing a lot in the data centers. It's not happening only now. Each national library that is also legal deposit institution has a huge data center to preserve that has the long-term storage for a huge amount of data. And of course, you have a huge amount also when you, for example, scan a monument in 3D, an archaeological site, etc., etc. These are huge amounts of data, that is true. Europeana needs and is trying to have the voice in this infrastructural development. But of course, we are not alone. The infrastructure is developed by also the European Commission, by member states, by individual organizations, etc., etc. So we need to collaborate and we need to be heard. We need to speak together. I mean, we need to have the dialogue. If we are not there, we are actually, not just, I cannot say neglected, but actually overlooked, if I may say so. So actually we need to, and that's I think the most important thing also with INA, if you, Rob, you're asking, is cross-sectoral collaboration, not just between the sectors of cultural heritage, but also with universities, also with governmental institutions, etc., etc. That's then where we can make a change. And if I go further on with AI alignment assembly and the white paper, the climate impact is not addressed in this part of the white paper that we're publishing now, because we're more in strategical positioning of AI in cultural heritage. But it is one of the key actions that we have detected as important in AI environment, and I think there will be follow-up activities following that part. So yeah, I would just invite you again to stay tuned probably.
And maybe one key thing to remark is that Europeana doesn't store data, right? It provides access, but all the content stays at the content provider's side.
I was attracted by your question when you said that nothing is for free, because this is the reality. Every time that somebody is giving us something for free, there is a reason. And the reason in the business sector is money. So there is another way to pay back what is given for free. This is the first. Secondly, I fully agree that Europeana doesn't store data. Everything remains in the hands of the cultural heritage institutions. We have seen that with the 3D and the advent of AI, everything becomes more complicated. If the cultural heritage sector does not find a way to develop its own digital infrastructure at the European level, it remains a small corner in science. So the question is that it is since it is at least 25 years that the cultural heritage sector is growing in terms of production of data. Now it is growing also in terms of needs of computing resources. The cultural heritage sector needs a European digital infrastructure. Everybody has done its own pilot. We have done with the Eureka 3D Data Hub, others have done. Well, what we discovered at the Twinit number 2 is that 8 member states out of, I would say 15, no, it is not, because only, I guess, 15 has published data in Europeana. So only the other 15, because it is true that there are 30, the other 15 didn't publish in Europeana. So at the Twinit, and in fact in your presentation, not all the contents from Twinit were shown in Europeana. So we have to be very honest, transparent. The cultural heritage sector is in the need of a digital infrastructure. And the digital infrastructure exists for all the other sciences and not for the cultural heritage science. Why? It is a science. Either we say, no, it is not a science, it is just to preserve, okay, and so we take a position. But if we say that it is a science, then we need a digital infrastructure.
Excellent, bravo.
I want to thank everyone. It's now 6 p.m. to stick it out with us, but also to interact so vividly and ask critical questions. And I think this is core to the spirit of what the Network Association is all about. So I hope to see you again in the next couple of days, if not somewhere more virtually in this whole wondrous ecosystem around the data space. Thank you for your participation.